Right, we'll crack on with the next one, and we're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to move from where we've been. We've been doing a tour of Highlands, and we've gone up there, and we've gone down here, and round the coast, and gone to Inverness, and then down, and then Scotland Swords Mountain, and then back to Inverness, because I'd forgotten that I'd got one of these already. Let's just stay where we are. Let's just chill out for a bit. We're in Edradour, okay? We've just done Edradour 10-year-old, and it was very, very good indeed. Ollie Chilton, good friend of mine, used to work for me, now working for the Whisky Exchange. Sent me a package a few days ago, of which one of which, yeah, that's right, was this, which is Ballechin. Now, if you're Scottish, that's not what you say is happening when you've been kicked in the nuts and you're Ballechin. Or Ballechin, yeah, whatever. It sounded better in my head than when I've just said it, but that's by the by. So Edradour, if you've not seen the Edradour review video, then it's literally just it's yesterday. Just go and watch that and come back. You can't be bothered. I'll tell you what, right, I'll do a quick overview. 1825, it was built, originally known as Glen Forest, changed its name to Edradour about 10 years later, briefly known as Glenlivet Glen Forest when it was owned by a company called William Whiteley, who were using it for the blends. It was bought by Pernod Ricard in 1982. 20 years later, they then sold it to a company called Signatory, who was owned by a guy called Andrew Symington, which was an independent bottler who bought the distillery, have done a bit of experimentation with wood finishes, which were in pain in the arse packaging, that were the bane of my bloody life. The 10-year-old is very, very, very good indeed. Now we get to this, which is, was essentially they wanted to try a peated whisky. So, 2003, they distill a heavily, heavily peated version of Edradour to the point of, in terms of, you can measure peatiness in whisky by measuring phenols, and it's phenols per million or phenol parts per million, whichever, however many P's you want to put in your ppm or ppm. Ardbeg, Laphroaig, well, Laphroaig's slightly less, but Ardbeg's about 40 to 50 ppm. Octomore, which was released by Bruichladdich, that was at the time supposed to be the peatiest whisky that you could possibly get, was 80, hence Oct, was 80 ppm. Ballechin is about 50, so we're looking at, you know, heavily peaty Islay whisky levels of peatiness. So distilled in 2003, launched in 2006, and from that first one on, they released one every single year that had been matured in various woods, so various casks, so it's like sherry and Oloroso and bourbon and things like that, up to the point they got to the 10-year-old, which is this. The 10-year-old is now out, because we're in 2016, and that's 10 years later, we have a 10-year-old. So this 10-year-old is now going to be their standard bottling of Ballechin, which is going to be kind of a partner to Edradour 10-year-old, Ballechin 10-year-old, which will be the heavily peated version. So it's a combination of ex-Oloroso and bourbon casks they've matured it in. Where's my jib? Oh, I've lost it. So Ballechin is the name of a closed distillery, which is a few miles south of Edradour, which they've named this after. Whether it's a case of, you know, this is how Ballechin used to be back in the day, I don't know, or whether they're just using it as sort of a brand name. This is what the bottle looks like. You're looking at, well, Whisky Exchange was selling this for 42 quid, so you're looking at about 40 to 45 quid for it. It's 46%, so it's slightly higher than the standard Edradour 10, which is 40%. And I will be very interested to see what this is like, because I like my peated whisky, and Edradour was really, 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 really good. So it'd be very interesting to see whether the combination of the two actually works or not, because Edradour was really rich and thick, and there was a kind of fruitiness to it that was almost kind of like a rum, and honey and everything like that. And if that's the basis that's then heavily peated, might work, might not work. So let's see. Wow, I mean, on the nose it's straight away. Hello, you're an Islay. Very medicinal. It's very TCP, hospitals, dentists, Euthymal toothpaste, which is always my go-to in that kind of smell. If you've never come across Euthymal toothpaste, if you see it anywhere, if you can still get it, my grandma used to have it, was her toothpaste, and it's a smell that I always associate with my grandma, rest in peace. but it's the most evocative thing for me. If it's still around, which I think it is, it's quite hard to get hold of. But if you ever find it, don't buy it. For God's sake, don't put it in your mouth because it tastes absolutely freaking awful. But just if you can, sneak a sniff of it because it's a really, really strong smell. And it's very much that. This is TCP, but it's got a real kind of marine character to it as well. I could smell that for ages, and yet some people, like my wife, would loathe that. If I do this for too long in the room, she won't come in the kitchen because it will put her off. It's so fresh. It's not a smokiness in terms of a bonfire or a log fire or something like that. It's really intense, marine, medicine, iodine, that sort of vibe to it. But it's very, very clean. Cleaner than I was expecting, considering how rich and deep the standard Edradour 10 is. So the combination of Edradour's rich, almost thick, deep whiskey, and this intense medicinal iodine feel. I wasn't sure beforehand whether it would work or not, whether the two would actually be too disparate, but it works, it really does work. There's a fantastic, rich, sweet mouthfeel, and then the peat comes through and kind of washes over and almost breaks down the richness and becomes, it's almost like two different whiskies. It starts off rich and thick and smooth, and then becomes this light, fresh. It's like a combination of two really good Islay whiskies, one of which is kind of heavily sherried and rich, and then the other one which is lighter and fresher. It's almost like it's like an aged Islay, aged heavily sherried Islay, like a really good kind of like Ardbeg, that sort of thing, without kind of the intensity that then follows through with a lighter, fresher, younger Islay whiskey as well. There's a lovely sweetness to it. There's a bit of a kick at the back of the throat. Now it's 46%, and I wasn't expecting the kick to be quite that strong. It's not overpowering, it's not unpleasant, it's just a bit more than I thought it was going to be, particularly when it starts so smooth in the mouth. It feels like it's going to be smooth down the back of your throat, and it just bites, it just kind of nips you as it goes down. It's a really good combination. It just about holds it. It could almost, if it wasn't so well balanced, it would be like having two different whiskies in your mouth and two separate whiskies that just don't meet in the middle. Whereas with this, they've got the balance just right. It's unusual. If you like Islay whiskies and you like your peated whiskey, go for that. It's very distinctive with that Edradour character that's there. It's very, very good if you like peated whiskies. If you don't like peated whiskies, it's too full on. But hopefully somebody would have given you that advance warning anyway. It just about works as a combination of such a rich, thick, almost sweet whiskey with such intensity of peatiness. It's so close to not quite working though. It does, but it's so close to just not. If one little bit was just off, you know, if you had kind of like, right, rich sweetness out of 10, and that one, if your numbers didn't quite match up, crap analogy, I know, but it's so close to not working because there are some occasions in my mouth where my brain's going, we've got two different things going on here, this isn't quite working, and then it settles down and it actually works really well. In other people's hands, or if another distillery tried a similar thing, the danger is that they could cock it up and it would just be an absolute mess, and your taste buds would be going, what the hell is going on here? Whereas with this, it works really, really well. That is an absolute cracker. Ollie, thank you for that. I didn't even know it existed, to be perfectly honest, and I'm counting it as one of the drams because it's so distinctive to Edradour 10 that I can consider it a different brand, even though it's from the same distillery. Great stuff, really, really good. 42 quid for that, I think is probably a decent price, even though it's just a 10-year-old, and I would be very, very interested to see how that ages. I think that's got legs to go to something like an 1821 would be its absolute pinnacle. I think maybe not even 18, maybe at a 15-year-old, that could be something really, really special. So we should wait and see, because we've still got a few years to wait. Good stuff. Thanks, Ollie. Cheers for that. And I shall see you at the next one. Cheers.